Amelia Mosley and you're watching BTN. Thanks for joining us for another show. Let's see what's coming up. We find out why Google got into legal trouble in the US. Meet some cats and dogs looking for a forever home. And learn how to play a game created by school kids. But first today, let's talk about gambling ads. Right now, the government's looking into toughening up laws designed to restrict where and when they can be shown. But some would like to see an outright ban. Here's Jack.
I'm going to bet that you've seen a gambling ad before.
Yes.
Knew it. Can I make a bet?
Sure.
You've seen a gambling ad before.
Yes.
Knew it. Knew it. Can I make a bet with you that you've seen a gambling ad?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I'm going to bet that you've seen a gambling ad before.
Yeah, I have seen a few.
Yeah. Everyone has. 100% of people based on this survey.
To be fair, that's a pretty easy bet to win because gambling ads are kinda hard to miss in Australia.
They're all over the TV and stuff. There's ads on YouTube and stuff as well.
About 1 million are televised each year, and they seem to be working. Australia is actually one of the biggest gambling countries in the world, with about 80% of Aussies having gambled in some form or another. But that comes at a cost. For a while now, we've known that gambling is really addictive, and each year Aussies lose billions of dollars to it. Studies have found that if you're exposed to gambling from a young age, you're more likely to gamble when you're older, which is why there are rules to protect young people from seeing gambling ads. These rules include restrictions on where and when the ads can be played. For example, you can't show a gambling ad during any programs with a G rating, or just before, during, or after live sporting events. But some reckon lots of ads are still making their way to younger viewers, and that the government should be doing more. Last year, the late MP Peter Murphy led an inquiry into gambling and gave 31 recommendations. One of which was to completely ban gambling ads across TV, radio, and newspapers by 2027. Now, the government is looking at toughening up laws around gambling ads, but the PM hasn't agreed to an outright ban because he's worried it would have a big impact on free-to-air TV stations. You see, gambling ads are worth more than $300 million in Australia, with most of that money going to the TV stations that play them, and some of those stations are already struggling.
Now, some of the free-to-air media need gambling ad revenue at any time in order just to stay afloat.
Others say that's not a good enough excuse, and more than 70 high-profile Aussies have signed a letter to the government calling for a ban.
It is time for Peter Murphy's legacy to be realised.
So just do it! Show some goddamn courage for once in your lives.
The government's expected to be debating the laws this week. So we'll have to wait and see if we continue to see gambling ads.
People who haven't started gambling but were thinking about it, I think it would stop them from doing it.
If they've already started gambling, then I'm pretty sure they'll still keep going.
Maybe they could compromise it with something whenever they could actually put it on at a certain time at night, and so the adults still see it but the kids don't.
If the new generations don't see gambling ads now, they're less likely to gamble in the future.
What's the name of this award statue? Is it an Oscar, a Logie, or an Emmy? It's a Logie, Australia's TV Awards, which were handed out on the weekend. Larry Emder won this year's Gold Logie, while 15-year-old Felix Cameron became the youngest person to win 2 Logies in 1 year for his role in Boy Swallows Universe.
I'd like to thank my friends, family, my brother and my sister, and my mum and dad.
This is Nusantara, the brand new capital city of which country? It's Indonesia. The government there decided to build a new capital on the island of Borneo because Jakarta is overcrowded and literally sinking. Nusantara isn't quite finished yet. In fact, it could be another 20 years before it is. But last week, the president officially inaugurated it and held his first cabinet meeting there. Speaking of making things official, Kamala Harris is about to become the presidential nominee for which US political party? It's the Democratic Party. This week it's holding its national convention, which is where the nominees for president and vice president are officially introduced. Meanwhile, out in space, a couple of astronauts are still stuck there because of problems with which spacecraft? Is it the Dragon, the Starliner, or the Soyuz? It's Boeing's Starliner. Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams took it on its first crewed mission to the ISS for what was supposed to be an 8-day visit back in June. They're trying to fix its helium leak and faulty thrusters, but they might just have to stay in orbit for a few more months.
The team is doing great. The joint Boeing and NASA team is doing well. They're working side by side with each other every day. We're methodically working through the data, and we'll come home when we're ready.
And what new mysterious discovery have researchers made at Stonehenge in England? Did they find the remains of a wooden boat? That one of the stones came from Scotland? Or that there's a dinosaur buried underneath? They found that the stone at the centre of the ancient monument actually came from Scotland. It's known as the altar stone and it's mostly buried underground, but it's actually almost 5 metres long and weighs 6 tonnes.
But this discovery, that it came from northeast Scotland, at least 700 kilometres away, is going to have big implications for how we understand movement and the transfer of people in Neolithic Britain.
Now to this little internet company, which you might have heard of. For a long time now, Google has been the world's biggest search engine. But now a court in the US has ruled that it's actually broken the law by using its power to nudge out the competition. Ren looked into it.
Hey, Sass.
Yeah?
Is cereal a soup?
I don't know. Just Google it.
Do straws have one hole or two?
I don't know, just Google it.
Is water actually wet? When we have a big question, or a silly little one, there's one place that most of us go. In fact, 99,000 people are Googling something every second. So, how did one company become synonymous for looking things up on the internet?
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Back in the early days of the internet, finding what you wanted was a little trickier.
First, you need to know that everything on the internet has an address, and all web addresses start with http://.
So to make things easier, search engines were invented. They're basically programs that organise the internet for us and make websites easier to find. And there used to be lots of them.
We read. Which orange do you think came first, the colour or the fruit?
Oh, let's ask Jeeves. Okay, yeah, this was a search engine, along with this and this and this. Most worked by looking for keywords in web pages and ordering results by how many times the word appeared. Then in 1998, these two guys launched a new search engine that they called, Google. Google used a slightly different way of ranking pages, which prioritised the most popular and commonly linked to pages. And it was a big success. In the 2000s, Google exploded. We got Google Image Search, Google News, Google Maps, Gmail. In 2005, they bought the smartphone operating system Android. And in 2006, they bought YouTube.
Ow, Charlie! Ow! Charlie!
Google also made a lot of money by selling ads and using people's searches to make them more targeted. Today, 90% of searches online go through Google and 95% on smartphones. The site is so popular that it's become a verb.
Google it.
And some say that's a problem. You see, when any company gets too big, it makes it harder for others to compete, which is bad for everybody. because it means there's less pressure on them to do a good job and less opportunity for others to do something better. It's why many countries have laws designed to stop that from happening. And recently, Google was found guilty of breaking those laws in the US. The court said Google spent billions of dollars to deliberately make it harder for other companies to compete.
So they've been found guilty of specifically exclusive contracts with both Apple and Samsung as being the default engine within their services.
Google says it hasn't done anything wrong and that its search engine is only popular because, well, it's good. It plans to appeal the court's decision. Meanwhile, the court is still working out how to punish Google for breaking the law. It could be forced to sell parts of its business, or even share its data with rivals. But, yeah, nothing's been decided yet. So, as for the future of the world's most popular search engine, well, that's one thing we can't Google the answer to just yet.
Did you know Google is named after a maths term? A Google is 10 to the power of 100.
We're watching BTN from Maryland High!
Now to something a lot of us love a lot, and that is our pets. But recently, animal welfare organisations say they've seen a big increase in the number of pets being surrendered by their owners. Sass went down to the RSPCA to find out what's going on. Take a look.
Rio, touch. Yes. Well,
meet Sicario, or Rio for short. He's a 3-year-old American Staffordshire Cross, and he knows quite a few tricks.
He's a gorgeous boy. He absolutely loves people. He loves his snacks. He's really great to walk on the lead despite his large size. So we're really hoping that we can find Sicario the right fit.
You are very friendly. You're gorgeous. Rio is just one of the dogs here at the RSPCA looking for his forever home after being given up by his previous owner.
He was surrendered because his owners were moving and they weren't able to take him. Unfortunately, the rental crisis has caused a lot of owners to have to surrender their animals to us. Sicario has been with us for 4 months now, trying to find his perfect family.
Animal welfare charities right across Australia say this year they've seen more animals like Rio needing a new home.
So why might we be seeing an increase in pet surrenders?
There's no doubt that a lot of people are struggling with the cost of living, and also some people struggle to find rental accommodation which accepts pets. So yes, there have been more people probably wanting to surrender animals.
What have I got? 20. 162. 162. 185.
660, but that's ages away. Yeah, as you've probably heard, lots of things have become more expensive in the past few years. From houses to petrol to bills and groceries, pet food included. It means that some people have had to make some tough decisions, including giving their furry friends up for adoption. Then there's COVID. For a few years, when we were all in lockdown, lots of people adopted pets. And now the world's opened back up. People's lifestyles have changed.
There's definitely fewer adoptions happening at the moment. I think a lot of people have gone back to their usual routines. They maybe don't have the same amount of time to care for an animal.
Carolyn says that sometimes people don't realise that looking after a pet isn't just about cuddles. There's grooming, vet bills, training, exercise, food, and it all takes a lot of commitment. But she says for many people it's well worth it, which is why charities like the RSPCA work with owners to help them keep their pets. And if it still doesn't work out, they try their best to find them the perfect new home.
Once we've found out all about that surrendered animal and that animal's come into our care, then our staff work really hard to look at, well, what kind of a home is this animal suited to? And the job of our staff is to make sure that they're going to the best person so that they have a loving and forever home.
How many puppies can fit on my lap?
But it takes a lot of work, and shelters say an increase in surrenders can make things hard to care for every animal that needs it. But there are things we can do to help.
We have lots of ways that people can help us with our work, and there's lots of volunteer roles. You have to be over 18 to volunteer here, but there's lots of roles in caring for animals and all sorts of other things you can do. But also there's opportunities to adopt or foster animals.
Carolyn says while pets can be a lot of work, they're also pretty great. And if you've got the time and love to give them, then they'll be your friend for life.
Now to an exhibition in Adelaide that's showing off the artwork of some talented First Nations students. Jack went down to have a look and found out more about all the different types of Indigenous art. Check it out.
Who are we? That's the question a group of South Australian First Nations students asked themselves when they created these artworks.
I thought about my family and who made me who I am today, and I thought of like my country as well.
So my silk painting that I created is about my nan's connection with her community and how she tells her story.
I did it on experiences I've had recently. So one of them was about a camp I'd just been on, the Kids on Country camp.
The silks and ceramics were made during workshops run by brother and sister Tamana and Atika.
It was a really cool opportunity for the students to be able to explore that, who they are as Aboriginal people, what makes up their identity, and put that into an art piece.
I've done a lot of art and stuff. I like painting. I do a lot of painting at school, but never done silk painting before, so that was, yeah.
When he said we were going to be painting on silk, I didn't know what he meant because I've never done it, but it was fun.
So what exactly is First Nations art? Well, apart from this and that, but surely there's a more definite answer. It's something people have been doing here on this continent for more than 55,000 years.
I've always thought of it as a spectrum, so one long line. One end you have traditional Aboriginal art and the other end you have contemporary. And one piece can be anywhere along that line.
Contemporary First Nations art first came to the world's attention in 1934, when First Nations people at the Hermannsburg Mission in the Northern Territory were taught how to paint with watercolours. One of those artists was Albert Namatjira, whose artwork became famous around the world. Another significant movement was in 1971, when students in Papunya, just north of Alice Springs, were encouraged to transfer the dreaming stories they were dotting in the sand onto canvas, giving us the first paintings to use symbols and dots, which have become sort of staples for First Nations art. While the use of dots and symbols might be common across the country, the meaning and style will be different depending on who the artist is and who their language group is. Today, First Nations art can be, well, anything really.
On the other end of the line, you might have something like digital art, which is very contemporary, very modern. And somewhere in between, you might have something like a canvas.
So what connects all First Nations art? Well, it has something to do with why the art was created in the first place, and that is to tell a story.
So we didn't have a written language. Everything we passed on with knowledge was passed on through art and ceremony and dance and stories and everything.
So many stories that are from Ayata, from our country, up in the Flinders and York Peninsula and Simpson Desert. And by using those stories and implementing them into our art, it's a way of connecting to those stories, but also to our land and culture.
And now they're helping the next generation of First Nations artists to tell their stories.
Walking in through the doors and just having my art and all the other students' art just displayed on the walls, it's right there. I didn't expect it to be all fancy.
It's just cool that like people will be able to come in and see all this amazing art.
The world's fastest bikers have gone head-to-head at the Austrian Motor Grand Prix. While it looked like Spain's Jorge Martin had it in the bag to begin with, that all changed when he was hit with a penalty, turning this tricky corner.
Well, this is a gift. This is playing right in hands of Pecco Bagnaia.
Yep, Italy's Francesco Bagnaia ended up winning the race by just 3.23 seconds.
Win today is fantastic. Win yesterday was fantastic.
Now to some bikes without engines. On Sunday, the big winner of the Femme Tour de France was announced. Katarzyna Niewiadoma.
I knew that I just had to pace myself smart and give my best in the last 5K.
The Polish champ won by just 4 seconds, the narrowest margin of any Tour de France race. and finally prepared to roar with laughter, or at least giggle, because you're witnessing this year's T-Rex World Championships, the annual event where people get together, dress up, and run as fast as they can. Do Your Homework won the 12 to 16 category, while My Rex Girlfriend dominated the women's section, and Fossilizer proved the fastest dinosaur over 50. Aren't those names just dynamite? Get it?
Finally today, we're going to meet some young game developers, but maybe not the type of game you're thinking. Ben, Sam and Jacob invented a card game which is now being sold around the world. Justina found out more.
Oh, what are the chances?
What?
And then I can go swiping, yeah?
Oh yes, Swipee.
I don't know why I thought I was going to win.
Maybe next time don't challenge the creators of the game.
So how did you come up with the idea for Swipee?
Back in July of 2022, we were in the back of the classroom finished with all of our work, and the teacher gave us some cards to play with. Once we'd played all the games we knew of, we started creating our own rules for the game.
So was there a moment where you thought, I think this game could really take off?
I think it was when we started getting all that positive feedback that we thought the game could go further.
Swipee!
So the main objective of the game is to clear out your whole deck of 9, and by doing that you need to get 3 of the same cards in a row or a column and then swipe them out.
5 main rules of Swipee. You can swap cards with another player. Can I trade you this poo for that devil?
Yes.
You can put your card in the discard pile, pick up one from the draw pile. You can take the top card from the discard pile. You can swap cards adjacently, horizontally or vertically in your deck.
Oh no! The 5th rule is the special cards, and there are 3 special cards. There's the wipeout card, there's the steal card.
Alright Jacob, I'm going to steal your monocle guy.
Oh dang it. And then there's the rainbow card. This rainbow is now a poo. Swipee.
So how did you go about designing the game and all the rules and stuff?
So we originally drew out lots of our sketches on our iPads, and I've got the old sketches and stuff on here.
We were going to do a sport version and an underwater version and an Australian animals version, and we'd especially like to do some licensed versions.
Like the AFL, because we're all really big fans of the sport.
So what did you have to do to take the game to the next level?
We added in the special cards which my sister created. Yes! We spent 6 months refining the rules and the game, and we got some demo packs made, and we needed to get a bank account so we could order the packs, and we needed help with postage. This one is for 2 packs going to Elson, Victoria. Wonder where that is.
So what was it like when you got your first order?
Yeah, when we got our first order we were really stoked. Boys, we got 4 new orders, 1 for 2 packs and 3 singles.
Oh nice, we'll go get them. Here we go.
And you've signed a deal recently. Can you tell us about that?
After we did our school fundraiser, our principal invited us to the YES Summit, which is the Young Entrepreneurial Summit, and they posted that on their socials, and then the Fantastic Factory found us. They've given us the licensing agreement to go international.
We're all really excited that a game that came from the back of the classroom could come this far.
So what do you plan on doing with all the money you're making?
We want to put lots of way for reinvesting into older new packs and all that. I'm looking for a charity to donate to, but I'd like a Land Cruiser when I'm 16. I'm sure lots of us would like a car.
Are there any big plans for Swipee in the future?
So we have plans to make new editions like AFL version, and we have a new edition that's going to be out in stores soon, which is the Monsters edition.
So do you have any advice for other kids who want to create their own game?
I'd say that no idea is silly.
Just follow your own dream really. Mistakes happen and that's fine.
Yeah, just keep trying and never give up.
Oh, awesome work, guys. I can't wait to challenge Justina to a game. Well, that's all we have for this week, but we'll be back with more before you know it. And in the meantime, you can check out our website or catch Newsbreak right here in the studio every weeknight, keeping you up to date. Have a good one and I'll see you soon. Bye.